Hey everybody, welcome to Drive Thru Review 261. Today I'm going to talk about Mad City, and this is a game from Mayfair, part of their Funfair line, which is sort of like their kids game line. And you can definitely play this with kids, but you can also kind of do the advanced game, so to speak, and play it with gamers if you want. Box I was just reading here says 30 minutes, and that's about right, no matter which style of game you play. It is I want to call it a speed game, but it's not really a speed game. So when I think of speed game, I kind of think of like Space Cadets Dice Duel or Steam Park or Escape, you know, the one where you escape from the temple. This is more of a timed game. Basically, each round is 60 seconds long, and then everybody has, you know, that minute to sort of arrange their little city. But, you know, everybody's got the same amount of time, so it's not whoever the fastest is, everybody has the same amount of time. It's just what you can get done. So anyway, before I get to reviewing it too much, let's take a look at how the game works. I'll show you the base game and the advanced game, and then I'll come back and tell you what I think of it. Okay, so as I said, there is a base game and then what they call a standard game. So you've got player boards here, and every player is going to get a cube in their color, and you can actually play this 1 to 6 players. Actually, I haven't tried it solitaire, but I read the rules. It looks fine solitaire. You know, it's just the kind of game I think I'd rather play with other people at the table. So everybody's going to get a cube and a player board, and then we're going to have this tree in the middle, which you can grab during the round, and then you have this timer here, which is a kind of a 1-minute timer. Now we have these other tiles over there, which I set over there. I'm going to ignore those now. Those are not used in the base game. The rules for the base game and the scoring's on this side, the standard game is on that side. And then very simply what you're going to do, and the rules say to basically draw 9 tiles and then kind of give them to the player on your left or right or whatever. So that way you're not really peeking at what's on there. So you can draw and then hand the tiles to somebody else, and then we're going to flip over the timer, and everybody's going to flip and look at their tiles, and you have to always arrange them in a 3x3 grid. So let me just arrange one really quickly, and then I'll kind of tell you about scoring in the base game. So here is a possible configuration. I'll just kind of separate them a little bit so you can see. Now there's a couple things you're going for in the base game. Basically you want to try to get as large an area of the different colors as you can. You can see there's 3 different colors. You have your residential kind of stuff in yellow, your kind of your offices in blue, and then your industrial here in red. So you're trying to group these here. So what you're looking for is these different symbols here. So I've got one big area. I've got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 yellows, and we can see here, I got close, but if you have 3 to 6 in a group, you get a point. This area here, they've only got 1, so those are going to be worth 0 points. You're trying to get a really big area like so. Here we've got 4 there, that'll be worth a point all by itself. Now, if you're the first person done, then you're going to try to grab the tree, and if you grab the tree, you're going to score your parks and your lakes here. And it's done in a similar way here. For 1, you get a point. If you have, you know, a group of 3, you get 3 points, or excuse me, 5 points, and so on. Now you also can also try to get the longest road. So you're going to take the longest contiguous road, which for me is pretty long. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. Basically just counting all the tiles that way. So I've got 8. If I had the longest road, or if I was at least tied, I'd get 3 points for that. And that's basically all that you're trying to do. You can see you're going to get a little bit more points here for groups of the blues versus groups of the yellows. So you do that, and then you just basically play till whatever, like 100, 150 points. You can kind of just set your own limit and just play for as long as you want. So that's just the basic game, and that's great. You can play that with kids. Very simple. Basically try to organize it in as big areas as possible of the like colors, and then, you know, if you can, do the longest road, and then maybe whoever's first grabs the tree, and then you just kind of play that way. Now where the game gets into a really interesting game, at least for me, is the standard game here. So there's a couple of different things that you're going to do here. You have your scoring of the parks and things. You don't necessarily get longest road, and there's a little bit of sort of almost like a gambling atmosphere kind of thing, and then also almost like a tech tree. So let me go into some of the different tiles and things and tell you a little bit about the standard game. Now the first thing that you have here are these tiles, and each player gets a set of these. These are very interesting here. So the first thing to note here is if you ever have a 8+ of the offices, you're going to get 7 points. If you ever have 9+ of the industrial, you're going to get 6 points. So you've got those kind of built into or I should say kind of like baked into your scoring. Now, to score these other tiles, you need to kind of do a little bit of work here. So let's say you did a area that had 6 to 8 reds. So what that means is you're going to flip this over. You flip that over, and now you've kind of unlocked the scoring. So next time you score 6 to 8 reds, you're going to get 4 points. And then you have these other shapes here. So all of the squares basically are going to flip over. And then so once I unlock it, then I'm going to score this. And I should say this one actually rotates because it's easier, supposedly. And then so you're going to rotate this one here, and then the next time you'll flip it over, and then you're going to get anytime you have 13 plus there. So all the way down to this pentagon here. So the first time you have 2 to 5 reds, you tick it, and tick it again, and tick it again, and tick it again. Then you flip it over, and then all of these now will score 2 points. So it's kind of an interesting way to almost specialize in sort of a different thing. Maybe you specialize in residential, industrial, or something like that. It's a very interesting way to kind of unlock scoring, and then it doesn't keep you from, you know, if you see a nice juicy setup where you're going to get a lot of points, it doesn't shy you away from that. So that's kind of cool. And then every player also has 4 of these tiles here, and these are almost like bets. So as you're placing tiles out, you can take and try to palm with one of these, and then, you know, you still be playing your square tiles here out on the board. And then at the end of the round, everybody's going to reveal, and this is me kind of saying I have the most residential, or the most political, or office, and the most industrial, or I have the longest road. Now you can see here, if you're correct, basically if you're tied or more than anybody else, you're going to get 3 points. But if you're incorrect, somebody, let's say, has a longer road than you, you're going to lose 2 points. And that really, this kind of balance between, you know, this little tech tree kind of thing and sort of trying to keep your eye on everybody else really makes the game more interesting. So I think the game, because of this, kind of excels at like the 3+ count, because with 2 players, it even says to put like a you know, a little blocker in between you and the other, because you can really eyeball one other person. It's very easy to keep track of, but you still can't keep total track of it though. I mean, I've screwed it up where I grabbed this and I'm like, oh, I didn't count that one because I got kind of spatially screwed up by the way the roads were bending. But definitely a 3+ is really, because you can't keep your eye on everybody. You try to, but that's really kind of the fun of the game, is I'm really trying to keep my eye on you, but I'm kind of worried about myself and my tech and everything like that. So that's pretty much the gist of the game. There's a couple other different solitaire variants and some other tile variants and things like that, but that's basically the base and the standard or advanced game. Okay, hope you enjoyed the overview. This is the first thing that comes to my mind when I play this game. Spiel des Jahres nominee. That's the first thing that comes to my mind. I'm sorry. I know that's kind of sensationalist probably a little bit, and you know, I apologize for that, but it really strikes me as a game that would fit in that category there, because it has the accessibility. You know, you can play the base game with just about anybody. I mean, you know, I said in the walkthrough, the review part, the rules part is kind of, you know, for kids. But, you know, you find a non-gamer and they should be able to get into the tile matching and stuff. You know, it's kind of like, I don't know, Corkle or Scrabble or something. It's very simple, but you have that minute time limit, so you can't just, you know, la-di-da it. And then you've got to get done, and then there's kind of that, you know, race to grab the tree, which is kind of neat. You know, it's just a couple extra bonus points maybe, or maybe you can strategize around that if you got the right tiles for it. And it's fun, you just get into it. And I found that we could probably just play it where, you know, you play like one round or a practice round with the base game. So everybody got it? Okay, let's go to the real game. Because then you got the teching up, and you can do that with, I think, I haven't tried it with somebody that doesn't game, but you know, I 100% guarantee if you taught it in this way, 100% guarantee, I know it's not going to work for somebody, but I would 99% guarantee that if you played it with somebody, you did the base game, you scored for the round, everybody scored their points, flip it over, switch to the standard game, and just keep playing, and then you just explain the tech tree, and then now you're into that. And then maybe in the third round, you could explain the little tokens you can grab for the bonuses. So you can kind of slowly add rules, and by like the fourth round, you've got all the rules of the game, everybody's cruising along, and it's great fun. So I like that, how this is laid out, and it plays up to 6 people. You know, you could play it solitaire if you want, but I think it really shines in that 3 to 6 range. I play 6, honestly, but I'm sure it'd be fine, because it takes a minute. Like, it's going to take any longer, maybe a little longer to do scoring, but if everybody can score themselves, it's fine. So it's really fun. You know, the art's there. I mean, it's very easy to figure out and count all the symbols. I think that's the most important thing. And it's got your 3 basic primary colors, which really should be a no-no in board game art. You know, you've got red, blue, and yellow. I mean, that's horrible. You should never color a game like that, but you really have to in this game because I think it makes it very easy to get out an initial placement and then go, oh, okay, how can I do this a little bit better? Okay, I've got 20 seconds about, you know, and then I can do it. So without me getting confused visually, I think it's very important because, you know, you got a headache or something at the end of the day, it's game night. You know, I have those game nights once in a while, I've got a headache and I'm like, oh, I totally screwed that up. But making things very presentable and easy and clear, it may not be beautiful, but it works and it's functional in that way. So anyway, you know, if you have kids, definitely take a look at this, but it has that sort of extra kind of, you know, layers into it. You can step into it and then play it, you know, kind of gradually, and then boom, you're away you go playing the full standard game. And I think, kind of getting back to the Spiel des Jahres thing, I think there seems to be kind of a, like a zeitgeist, or, you know, that kind of thing, like a trend to have these real-time games. Everybody's talking about these micro games all the time. You know, we've had Escape, but didn't care for that. But you know, I think it got nominated for Spiel des Jahres, you know, so a lot of people like it. And then Space Cadet Dice Duel and Space Cadets is a little bit heavier of a thing. But and then you have Steam Park, which I also enjoy. Haven't reviewed it yet. I will soon, hopefully. And you know, this game, and I'm probably sure there's one or two others recently within the last year or two that are very excellent, and it kind of new takes on this whole, I don't know if you call it, it's not a dexterity thing, but it's just it's a time thing. It feels like a dexterity game because it's how fast can my brain tell my hand what to do. So there's a little bit of dexterity feel to it. But it's not, these aren't speed games. I mean, I feel like Escape kind of is just a speed roll. Even Steam Park is like that, but for some reason I like Steam Park but not Escape. But we're not reviewing Steam Park. But this one is not a speed where I'm like racing somebody because we all have the same time. It's just, this is my time limit and I know what I have to get done. And in reality, a lot of things in life you have that sort of time limit. And Space Cadets, the original, is also like that. So I think there's room here for designers to kind of feed into this. And I think this really does a nice job of it, you know, working up from, again, from the basic into the more complex, where you can kind of grab some folks maybe that have shorter attention spans or something. You know, and a lot is kind of made of, you know, everybody has a shorter attention span now because we're always on our iPhones and our computers and all that. I don't know much about that in any kind of studies. I don't want to get into that territory too much, but I think this game especially, and I think it's kind of shown me that there is room here for this real time without speed, without this sort of just almost like hacked on mechanic, but it's very simple and pure, and you can actually get a little bit into it. It kind of feels like the theme, because this one with the tech tree, it's like, okay, I'm sort of specializing in residential, or I'm specializing in having a you know, city full of offices, like, because where I live here, it's like, you know, we got service businesses and houses and all that stuff. Well, I go work about 20-30 minutes away, and there's not a lot of residential there. It's mostly like big, there's a lot of software places and, you know, electronics and things. So that town is basically specialized in, you know, the office environments. You know, in certain parts of areas in the town next to it, there's a lot of industrial. So you can kind of specialize your sort of zoning, if you will. I mean, yeah, you're kind of tearing down your city as you go, but it has a little bit of thematic flavor in there. And I'm like, oh, this is kind of neat. That's like, it's like a city building game, but it's really basic, but it gets the point across, and it has those sort of teching up dynamics, you know, as you're specializing and trying to beat out the competitor cities there. So anyway, a lot of cool stuff, very simple, but the game really comes out of it once you're playing with other players. So I think on the surface, my hunch is, I'm saying this, is that you know, mechanics might be like, oh, that's simple, I don't want that. But it really takes on another dynamic when you get other players there. So definitely I would take a look at this and at least try it. And definitely time games aren't for everybody, but this one is definitely a fun way to do it. Okay, thanks.